Revealed, Billionaire HEIR's hidden identity as a simple worker led to a life-changing love after. In the heart of Maplewood, a small town bursting with tight-knit community spirit, Charlie was known simply as the mechanic. His garage, filled with the scents of motor oil and the soothing sounds of tools clanking away, served as a sanctuary for the townsfolk. Despite the oil-stained hands and grease-smeared face, Charlie wore his labor like a badge of honor, embodying the rugged, unyielding spirit of American grit. Day after day, he coaxed life back into worn-out vehicles, transporting his neighbors from their burdens back to hope, even as he held on to a secret that could shatter everything. Charlie was not just a humble mechanic, he was the son of untold wealth, a lineage he had run from. Instead of boardrooms and luxury, he chose engine blocks and tires. Every laugh shared with a neighbor, every friendly wave as he fixed a car, rooted him deeper in authentic living. He was the boundless heart of Maplewood, but his hidden past remained his weighty secret. Then came Sarah, a bright-eyed journalist from the city with an insatiable curiosity. When she stepped into the world of Charlie's garage, her heart ignited with a raw, unexplained connection. Their afternoons together turned into sweeps of laughter that echoed against the steel walls, each banter brewing something sweet and warm. Under the gentle gaze of the setting sun, they exchanged stories. He shared tales of how he found peace in the smell of engine coolant, while she flickered life into their conversations with dreams of a vibrant future for the town. But while Charlie found joy, the lurking truth gnawed at him, threatening to tear apart this budding bond. With a thunderstorm brewing in the skies above, corporate giants began to threaten Maplewood's idyllic chaos, including Charlie's beloved garage. The townspeople rallied like a mighty river, pouring support and love toward one another. Each hand tightened around a wrench was matched with a word of encouragement. As they came together, Charlie felt an internal storm gathering strength. Would revealing his past bring Sarah closer or drive a wedge between them as their connection deepened? Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. On a fateful evening, amid the chaos of a storm rallying against shared dreams, Charlie found himself face to face with his estranged father, a man whose name commanded respect and fear alike. The confrontation felt seismic, old wounds cracked open, revealing vulnerabilities that twisted inside him. In that moment, the truth erupted. The words spilled out, raw and audacious, bursting through air thick with tension, a revelation long withheld. But what wreckage would it bring upon his relationships? Eyes filled with confusion and hurt met his when he confessed to Sarah, boiling the foundations of everything they had built. She stood there, the very essence of shock. Would the weight of Charlie's family's riches crush what they had? Would she still see Charlie, or only the shadow of wealth lurking behind? As he faced the mystery of his reality, he knew deep down that to embrace love and identity meant battling the shadows that sought to keep him hidden. In the rural comfort of Maplewood, the hardest fight was yet to come, the battle for truth, acceptance, and a love freshly blossoming under the stars. The air hung heavy with silence as Sarah processed Charlie's confession. The clang of car doors and the hum of the garage felt distant, fading into a murmur. Charlie's heart thudded in his chest, a relentless drumbeat of anxiety spilling into the space between them. He searched her face for a sign, any sign, that the warmth they had shared wasn't obliterated by the shadows of his past. She blinked, shaking her head as if to shake off the weight of his words. "Charlie, you're telling me that you're—" "Yeah," he replied quietly, his voice a gravelly whisper. "I'm the son of the man who owns half the city. But that's not me anymore. I chose this life. I chose you." With each syllable, he felt himself unravel. How could he expect her to accept the man he was now, when all she had known was the facade he had constructed? He fought the urge to reach out, fearing that the wrong move could shatter the fragile moment. "I don't know what to say," Sarah finally breathed. Her voice trembled, mirroring the raindrops that pummeled against the garage roof, matching her internal storm. He stepped forward. "You could say something like, 'Why didn't you tell me sooner?' Or 'Is this for real?' Or 'Charlie.'" She interrupted, her voice rising, a mix of confusion and hurt. "It's not that simple. All this time, I thought I was falling in love with a man who built himself from the ground up. How do I know this isn't just some sort of game?" Her words hit him like a rusty wrench, sharp and unforgiving. He nodded, already knowing what was at stake. "I get it. Right now, it feels like everything we built is crumbling. But the truth is, I've found more meaning here." He gestured toward the garage, the scattered tools representing a community so full of love than I ever did in the shadow of my family's wealth. "Being the mechanic isn't just a job for me, it's who I am." Sarah turned her gaze toward the entrance of the garage, where the rain obscured the world outside. "But what about your family? Your responsibilities, the life you left?" "They don't own me," he said firmly, a pulse of conviction rushing through him. "I am the one who ran away, yes. But it was to escape their expectations, their life. I had to find my own path. And that path led me to you." A deep sigh escaped her lips, heavy with the weight of mixed emotions. As she stood there, the atmosphere shifted subtly, vulnerability breathed life back into their connection, yet doubt lingered in the corners of her heart. "Charlie, if we continue this, can you promise to be honest? No more secrets?" "I swear," he replied, stepping closer. "But only if you can understand that who I am is more than just a name or a bank account. It's the sweat on my brow and the heart I put into this garage every day." She met his gaze, searching his eyes for the fear and the love entwined in the fabric of his soul. "I want to believe you, I really do. But this isn't just about us. There's so much more at stake." The storm outside intensified, but inside the garage, amidst the cacophony, there was a calming connection that kept them rooted to the moment. "I'll fight for us, Sarah," he whispered, and she finally smiled, though it was tinged with uncertainty. As the rain continued to beat against the walls, a picture of their life together flickered in Charlie's mind. There were challenges ahead, and a battle not just with the expectations of his family, but with his own fears. He took her hand, feeling the warmth seep into his skin, mixing hope with trepidation. "Can we face tomorrow together?" In the stillness, she squeezed his hand, a tentative promise hanging in the air. But just as the light began to shine through the dark clouds of doubt, a loud crash echoed from outside, sending both of them jumping apart. "What was that?" Charlie exclaimed, adrenaline spiking through him as his instincts kicked in. As they rushed to the door, the truth of the past seemed to swirl right back into their lives, ready to re-emerge. Ideas of love, identity, and family hung in limbo, some lingering questions fading while others rushed to the forefront. "Whatever it is, we'll face it together," Sarah said, her voice steadier, but the flicker of fear in her eyes reminded him that their biggest battles were just beginning. As they reached the door, Charlie's heart raced, fear coiling in his stomach. The rain pounded relentlessly, masking any other sounds from outside, but the crash was loud enough to penetrate their moment of fragile connection. He flung the door open, water spilling in as he stepped into the stormy night. At first, he was met with chaos. A small pickup truck, rear end crumpled, had collided with the garbage dumpster behind the garage. It rocked ever so slightly, as if in response to the shock of the collision. "Is anyone hurt?" Sarah shouted over the sound of the rain, her voice tense with concern. He scanned the scene and noticed a figure moving inside the vehicle. "I don't know," he replied, dashing toward the truck. His instincts took over. He needed to help. Charlie approached and knocked on the driver's side window. A young man glanced up, eyes wide and panic-stricken. "Just give me a minute," he yelled, fumbling with his seatbelt. In that moment, Charlie caught a glimpse of himself, the man who had once been suffocated by privilege, now dedicated to the community and paying it forward. He felt a shift in his chest, a resolve building. This was what mattered, the grit of life, the mess, and the struggle. "We'll get you out," Charlie assured the driver as he reached for the door handle. It jarred, stubborn against his efforts. He glanced back at Sarah, whose face was a mix of determination and worry, standing in the cascade of rain like a beacon. "I could use your strength," he called to her. The urgency in his voice prompted her into action, and she hurried to his side. Together, they managed to open the door, the driver spilling out, drenched, but alive. "Thanks man, I thought I was done for," the young driver stuttered, breathless. "Just take a moment," Sarah said, noticing the shaky hands and pale face. "You hit your head?" "I think so. I just lost control," he panted, leaning heavily against the side of the truck. Charlie could see the panic flickering in his eyes, a mirror to his own earlier emotions. Charlie glanced at Sarah, and in this chaotic moment, they shared a silent communication. Both of them were grounded by the same understanding, yet another reminder that their struggles, no matter how personal, echoed in everyone around them. They began to guide the young man to the doorway, away from the wreckage of the truck. "You're going to be okay," Charlie reassured him. "Just breathe. We'll call for help." His gut twisted as he felt the pull of his family's reality lurking outside the shadows, oppressively close. If Charlie's identity was exposed in this vulnerable moment, everything could spiral out of control. He found himself asking what the world might think, but the thought of hiding returned him to his focus, being real, being true. "Charlie, let us get him out of this rain," Sarah urged, her voice breaking through his haze. As they ushered the driver to safety, Charlie couldn't shake the feeling that this was merely the beginning of a storm far greater than the one drumming above them. The rain blurred the edges of their world, and he understood that imminent threats weren't just outside. The collision of two lives, his and Sarah's, already laid precariously on uncertain ground. "Are you all right?" Sarah asked the driver, ensuring he was stable before turning back to Charlie. Her brow was furrowed with worry. "I will be," he said, apprehensive. But what weighed heavy in his chest felt daunting. Just then, Charlie's phone buzzed in his pocket. He glanced down, heart dropping. The caller ID blazed with his father's name, the man whose influence loomed large over Charlie's life. What did this mean? Sarah watched him, confusion and concern clashing in her gaze. "Who is it?" she asked softly. "Someone I thought I had escaped," he murmured, a mix of fear and defiance igniting within him. As the rain poured down, echoing the turmoil inside, he hesitated. Would he answer? Would he risk it all? The decision felt insurmountable. And yet, the truth was clear: it was time for the final act of honesty, whatever the consequences might be. Charlie stared at his phone, the world around him fading into the background noise of the rain. The flickering light from the screen felt like a spotlight, drawing attention to the one thing he tried so hard to leave behind. He could practically hear his father's voice echoing in his mind, demanding obedience, respectability. But standing here, with this young man shivering and amazed at being alive, Charlie felt the pull of a different path. "Charlie?" Sarah's voice broke through his thoughts, grounding him. "Are you okay?" "No," he said, his voice barely a whisper. The weight of that truth crushed him. He clenched his jaw, glancing at the driver who was leaning against the door, skin pale but tears glimmering in his eyes. "I need to take this," he finally said, resolute. "What?" Sarah was bewildered. "Charlie, don't, it's my father," he interrupted. I need to face this." Before he could overthink it, he swiped to answer. "Hello?" His heart pounded, a steady drum in the chaos. "Charlie." His father's tone dripped with authority, as familiar and suffocating as the rain. "Where are you?" "I never mind. Just get back home. We need to discuss your position in the company." "I'm not coming back," Charlie said, his voice strong despite the trembling in his limbs. Not now, not ever. There was a brief silence, and Charlie could almost hear the gears turning in his father's mind. You're making a mistake. You can't just run away forever. But Charlie had made his choice, one that defied everything he had once stood for. I'm building my life on my own. Not your rules, Dad. Not your expectations. Charlie, he hung up, a mix of anger and liberation flooding through him. The rain fell harder, but inside, he felt a glimmer of clarity emerging. He turned to see Sarah, her expression shifting from concern to relief. What did he say? She asked tentatively. Nothing that matters, he replied, his heart still racing. I'm done with it. The truth hit him anew, a revelation that buzzed in his stomach. The man he often feared was just an echo of the past. I need to start over, Sarah. And I can't do it while I'm pretending to be someone I'm not. Then don't, she urged, the rain soaking her hair, the droplets framing her face like a halo. You're stronger than you think. You helped that guy, she gestured to the driver, and you're opening up. That's why you're here. Suddenly, the weight of everything, the expectations, the struggle to fit into a role that was never his, grew lighter. He wasn't alone anymore. The rain washed away remnants of his old self, cleansing him for something new, something hopeful. Let's get him inside, Charlie said, feeling a spark. They guided the young man farther from the wreckage, their feet sloshing in puddles as they stumbled toward the house. Thank you, for everything, the driver said, gratitude shining through his fear. No one should endure a storm alone, Charlie said, and for the first time, he spoke the truth that resonated within him. He turned to Sarah, wanting to share this moment, the rush of bravery swirling between them, but just then, Charlie's phone buzzed again. A message this time, lighting up the screen as his heart sank. Come home. We need to finish this. He hesitated, battling with a growing impulse to throw the phone into the rain. I can't go back, he muttered. Then don't, Sarah said firmly. Be who you really are. But you have to decide, Charlie. As the storm raged on, Charlie felt an unexpected mix of fear and excitement. The last tether to his previous life was fraying, and in its place lay an uncharted future. What awaited him on the other side of this storm? With a deep breath, he made his choice. But now, it felt bigger than himself. As they stepped into the safety of the house, Charlie's mind raced with the possibilities ahead. Was he really ready to leave everything behind? Outside, the rain fell relentlessly, a quiet witness to the transformation unfolding within him, a moment that could lead to either a new beginning or an irredeemable mistake. But one thing was certain, he had to embrace whatever came next, for better. Or worse. What awaited beyond the door? Charlie stepped into the house, the warmth enveloping him like a comforting embrace. The world outside seemed harsh and wild, the storm shifting from a gentle shower to a full-blown tempest. Inside, however, everything exuded safety, a sanctuary away from the raging chaos. He looked around, absorbing the familiar surroundings that had once felt stale and constricting. Now, they looked different, like pieces of a life he was ready to reshape. The driver, still shaking, blinked at the sudden shift in atmosphere. Sarah hurried to fetch towels, glancing back at Charlie with a reassuring smile. She knew the change was happening, even if he didn't fully understand it yet. What's your name? Charlie asked the young man once they settled him on the couch, his voice steadying. Eric, the driver replied, his lips quivering slightly. Eric, Charlie said, feeling the name settle in, as if it belonged to him too. You're safe now. Just breathe. The moments passed with the storm pounding outside, heavy rain mixed with wind that whipped through branches like fingers clawing at the sky. Yet, here in this cocoon, the tension eased. Eric wiped his face with a towel, his gratitude evident in the way he held Charlie's gaze. Why would you help me? Eric asked, his voice small and trembling. I could have been anyone. You were someone, Charlie replied. And that's what matters. Sarah returned, handing Eric a warm cup of tea. Take it slow, she advised gently. Looking at the cup, Eric's brow furrowed. I didn't think I'd ever have a moment like this again. After the crash, I thought it was over. Charlie felt an unexpected pang, one that gnawed at the edges of his heart. He remembered moments in his own life when all seemed lost, drowned out by expectations. Yet here they both were, two lives intertwined by fate. Life can surprise you, Charlie said softly, the weight of his words echoing between them. It might feel dark right now, but it can turn around, and in ways you never expected. He felt Sarah's encouraging gaze on him. It was a reminder that sharing vulnerability could weave invisible ties between strangers. Outside, lightning lit up the sky, a harsh reminder of the storm still raging. Charlie's phone buzzed again in his pocket, a restless reminder of his father's lingering demands. The urge to check it was almost unbearable, but instead, he turned to Sarah. What happens now? He asked, nervous and excited all at once. Well, first we get Eric cleaned up and settled, Sarah answered with warmth. Then we talk about what you want, Charlie. You don't have to say yes to anything just because it's expected. Charlie studied her, admiration blooming. How did she always seem to know? Am I just running away from the truth? He wondered aloud, tension washing over him again. What if I leave and regret it? Or what if you stay and regret it just as much? Sarah countered gently, her eyes fierce yet caring. You are not your father. You can shape your future now. Their words hung in the air, heavier than the rain. The kettle on the stove rattled to a boil, a distant comfort overshadowed by his internal storm. He struggled against the thought of his father, the judgment, the pressure, the relentless need to conform. It felt like chains around his heart, and just when he began to picture tearing them loose, suddenly another thought crept in fear. You won't come back, will you? Eric's voice cut through the fog of Charlie's mind, vulnerable and hopeful. Charlie looked at him, understanding how fragile that hope was. I don't know what the future holds, he admitted. But I promise to be honest with myself from now on. Moments stretched, the air thick with possibility. He could feel the weight of countless decisions pressing down on him, but through the tension, a flicker of courage ignited. We need to talk, he said at last, and the words resonated with a new strength. No more running. No more pretending. As they navigated this newly formed bond, the truth of that moment began to crystallize for Charlie. He felt lighter, less bound by the past. But he knew. This was just the beginning. What lay ahead could change everything, and as the rain poured harder outside, a single thought lingered in Charlie's mind, sharp and poignant. Could he truly let go, or would the echoes of his old life drag him back? Charlie sat back, feeling a pull towards vulnerability. The weight of decision soon felt like a concrete reality. He could fight against it or embrace the uncertainty. The outlined paths before him were unclear but enticing, holding the potential to break free from his father's shadow. Sarah placed a hand on Charlie's arm, grounding him. You're not alone in this, she reminded him, her voice soft yet steady. Take it step by step. Charlie drew in a breath, trying to focus. Okay, but what do I even want? The question slipped out, heavy and echoing in the stillness. Eric shifted slightly on the couch, his tea now forgotten. You said life can surprise you, Eric said, a hint of determination in his voice. What if you ride that wave? Charlie took a moment to think. The truth was, he'd never thought much about what he wanted outside the expectations placed on him. As he glanced around the cozy room, warmed by shared moments, it dawned on him. I want to feel alive. Then live a little, Sarah encouraged, an encouraging smile lifting her features. Start by talking about it. What feels right versus what feels pressed upon you. That was a start. As the storm beat against the window panes, Charlie glanced at the half-finished tea still steaming in Eric's cup. Do you feel alive, Eric?" he asked, intrigued. Eric hesitated, then spoke with an earnestness that pulled at Charlie. "I didn't tea until tonight. Coming here, it felt like a chance I didn't even know I wanted. I thought my life was wrapped up in that car accident. Yet now, I'm here, and I see a glimpse of hope." The vulnerability in his words struck a chord within Charlie. It was about more than just survival, it was about embracing life fully. "Maybe we help each other," he said, feeling the seed of something new sprouting between them. Just then, the kettle whistled, breaking their reverie. Sarah headed to the kitchen, but not before giving Charlie an encouraging glance. He felt the supportive bond between them grow stronger, urging him forward. "I don't know your story, but I have this strong feeling we're on a similar path," Charlie continued, looking back at Eric. "We might face a lot of unknowns. But what if we could take steps, together?" Eric's expression brightened. "You're right. Maybe we take life back, rebuild our stories. It's strange, before tonight, I felt trapped. Now, in a different place, with you, I feel less alone." A smile cracked Charlie's serious facade. They were two worlds colliding, and together, they might just find hope. Life outside would still hold challenges, but maybe, just maybe, they could carry that warmth inside them. As thunder rumbled in the distance, Charlie leaned forward. "Let's talk about what freedom means for us. What's next?" Eric took a sip of the tea, steeling himself. "Let's set some goals. A plan to break the chains of our past. I want to get back on my feet and find a new direction." Encouraged, Charlie nodded. "And I want to understand what I truly desire." Sarah returned from the kitchen, 2 fresh mugs of tea in hand. She placed them down and raised an eyebrow. "You two seem ready to tackle the world." "This storm won't last forever," Charlie replied, a newfound confidence in his voice. "Let's harness this moment." Each of them sat a little taller, buoyed by the realization that perhaps this night was more than just a refuge from a storm, it could be the beginning of their transformations. As they began sharing their hopes and fears, an unexpected wave of clarity washed over Charlie. He realized, through their intertwined stories, that perhaps stepping away from tradition could lead him to the future he longed for, and with that thought nestled in his heart, a new sense of urgency flickered within him. What if stepping away was the only way to step forward? As the rain continued to pour, the soft patter against the window seemed to encourage the warmth they had created in the room. Charlie couldn't shake the feeling that they were on the cusp of something big. Life felt like it was shifting beneath him, and for the first time in a long while, he was hopeful. "Okay," Charlie began, leaning forward a bit more. "Let's talk about what we want. If we're setting goals, let's make them real." Eric nodded, his eyes lighting up. "I want to start volunteering at the community center. I've thought about it for a while, but it felt too heavy, too much pressure. Now, it seems like the right place to start giving back, reaching out to others, finding connection." "That's beautiful," Sarah chimed in, her expression radiant as she glanced at both men. "It's all about creating that sense of community again. When we help others, we often find ourselves along the way." Charlie considered this. "I've always wanted to try photography," he admitted hesitantly. The idea felt strange on his tongue, but it was there, tucked behind layers of family obligations and expectations. "Taking photos, capturing real moments, that feels alive to me." "Then let's do it," Eric encouraged. "You could take some photos of our community center events. You could document the changes you want to make. It's like you're a part of your own story, a living piece of art." Charlie smiled, feeling his heart race with the possibility. It spoke to the part of him that hungered for expression, to break the mold placed upon him for so long. Maybe we just let ourselves be us. At that moment, Sarah clapped her hands, shifting the energy in the room. "All right, how about we make a pact? A small commitment to our goals. Something that reminds us to keep going." "Like a touchstone?" Charlie asked, intrigued. Exactly. Sarah replied, her enthusiasm infectious. Something that signifies this moment. It could be a bracelet, a keychain, it doesn't have to be fancy, just something that reminds us of who we aim to be. After a moment of excited chatter, they settled on a date. We'll meet at the community center next week, Charlie said, already anticipating the thrill of taking that first step. And then, we'll choose our tokens. Sarah grinned, her gaze shifting to the window where the storm continued its rhythmic assault. Look at that. The storm is fierce, but we're safe here. We're in control. I can't help but feel this is more than just a plan, Eric said, his brow furrowing slightly. It's like we're creating something new, a new path. But what if this changes us? Charlie considered Eric's question. Change had always been terrifying, wrenching him from the familiar into the unknown, but perhaps this was different. Maybe the change is what we need. Maybe it's what we've been searching for all along. Thunder rolled in the distance, settled now in their hearts as they contemplated their new goals, their newfound hope. Each man, slowly rising from the past, felt the weight lift just a bit. As the storm raged outside, a soft silence wrapped around them, broken only by the distant chirping of a night bird. You know, Charlie said softly, this night feels like an awakening. More like a rebirth, Eric added, his smile expansive. In that moment, Charlie realized he wasn't just moving away from expectations, he was moving toward a life defined by his choices, his dreams, and his friendships. But just as the warmth of hope began to wash over them, a loud knock on the door shattered their tranquility. Each shared a startled glance, uncertainty creeping back into their hearts. Who could it be at this hour? Charlie took a deep breath, glancing toward the door. Should we see who it is? And as the knock echoed like a drumbeat resonating in his chest, Charlie pondered, what new chapter was about to begin? Charlie exhaled slowly, the air feeling thick with anticipation. Something in the atmosphere shifted, charged with possibilities that tangled with the remnants of their earlier conversation. He glanced at Sarah and Eric, who both seemed equally curious yet wary. Should we just ignore it? Eric suggested, though he instantly knew that wouldn't settle the prickling curiosity in the room. No way, Sarah said. This night can't end on a mystery. Taking another deep breath, Charlie stood up, feeling the solid wood of the table beneath his palms. He made his way to the door, each step echoing the quickening pulse in his throat. His heart raced as he turned the doorknob, the cold metal sending a shiver down his spine. He opened the door, and standing there was a drenched figure wrapped in a thin raincoat. The storm outside blurred the image slightly, but as their eyes met, Charlie felt suddenly grounded in the chaos around them. Excuse me, the stranger began, voice barely rising above the howling wind. I'm sorry to intrude, but my car broke down just down the road. I tried to get a taxi, but the storm blocked the service. Could I possibly use your phone to call for help? Feeling the weight of their shared moment, Charlie stepped back, inviting the stranger inside. Of course, come in. As the man entered, Charlie couldn't shake a strange familiarity about him. He had short brown hair, flecked with rain droplets, and bright blue eyes that seemed to hold stories of their own. Charlie felt an erratic flutter in his chest, a feeling that pulled him closer to this unexpected visitor. With just a few quick motions, the man removed his coat, revealing a simple t-shirt that seemed out of place in stark contrast to the storm outside. Thank you. I'm Ben, he said, shaking off the rain with a sheepish smile. I'm Charlie. This is my friend Sarah and Eric. Nice to meet you, Ben replied, his voice warm despite the coldness seeping into the room. As Charlie handed him the phone, Sarah stepped forward, her curiosity peeling back layers. What brings you this way, Ben? Oh, I just moved here recently for work, he said, his gaze flickering toward the window, where the rain still pattered heavily. Thought I'd check out the area tonight, then things took an unexpected turn. There was something about the way he spoke, an undercurrent of something deeper that Charlie couldn't quite put his finger on. Ben's casualness felt right against the intensity of their plans from earlier in the evening, but it also hinted at another layer. His fingers stroking the phone nervously, Ben seemed to center himself amid the growing storm outside. "You guys are okay with strangers crashing your little party, right?" Before anyone could fully respond, the door swung open again, this time revealing Eric's wide eyes and amused smile. "Do we allow strange men in soaked jackets at this hour?" Their laughter eventually broke the tension, but Charlie felt an electric frisson hang in the air. Somehow, he sensed this encounter could shift their small circle, much like the storm that churned violently outside. As Ben dialed a number, the atmosphere pulsated with unspoken questions. Charlie watched the man carefully, feeling as if there was more waiting to unfold in the space between them. It was as if their lives were on the brink of intersection, a turning point coated in serendipity and uncertainty, but just as their eyes met, a flash of lightning illuminated the room. Ben froze, his expression flickering with surprise. "Guess I'm not the only one going through changes tonight," he said, his voice teetering on the edge of laughter and realization. Charlie nodded, feeling the weight of the moment settle around them like a thick fog. They had all committed to change, and perhaps Ben was part of that shift. What if this stranger held the key to unraveling paths they never thought possible? With each ring of the phone, anticipation thickened in the air. Charlie leaned closer, breath held tightly, eager to discover how this unexpected encounter would twist their new journey. Would Ben become a thread woven into their tapestry of hope, or would this be just another passing storm? Who knows what awaits us? Charlie thought, heart racing with both fear and excitement. The phone call seemed to stretch into eternity, each ring intensifying the quiet tension that had settled over the room. Ben's gaze remained fixed on the device, a mix of hope and anxiety flickering across his face. Charlie watched his reflection in the blue eyes that seemed almost unfamiliar yet magnetic. Who was this man, really? "Come on," Ben muttered under his breath, almost to himself. The sincerity in his tone pulled at Charlie's chest. In the deepest parts of his mind, he felt a compelling need to know more about Ben, to peel back the layers of this unexpected encounter. "Are you okay?" Sarah asked softly, stepping closer to Ben. Her voice resonated like a calming balm on a stormy night. Yeah. Just waiting." He forced a smile, but Charlie saw the glimpse of vulnerability behind it, a crack through which uncertainty seeped. It struck him then perhaps they were all wrestling with their own storms, hidden beneath the pretense of confidence and cheer. In that moment, with the rain tapping rhythmically against the window and lightning flickering outside, the urgency of their situation somehow faded away. The trio of friends exchanged glances, their interests aligning, creating a subtle bond. They were no longer just observers of an unfolding story, they were players in it, too. Ben's phone call finally ended with a soft click, and though the storm still raged outside, a silence settled in the room, heavy with unspoken stories. "Looks like help is on the way," he said, but there was something in his voice that suggested he wasn't just relieved for the rescue, he was also reveling in being momentarily surrounded by warmth, by people. There was a quiet thrill in their shared isolation from the outside world together in this cocoon of unexpected camaraderie. "I know it's late, but feel free to stick around until they get here," Charlie offered. His voice was more confident than he felt, but something about the connection already formed urged him to keep Ben close. It felt like a moment that could shape them all. "I could use a distraction," Ben replied, his demeanor lightening at the invitation. He moved further into the room, shaking off more of the storm's remnants, and the air seemed to ease with his presence. "Okay, party it is," Eric said, breaking the lingering tension with a joke that drew laughter from Sarah and Charlie. "Do you have any board games?" "I'm an expert at almost all of them," Ben said, his eyes sparkling now amidst the awkwardness of their first meeting. The easy banter sent Charlie's heart skipping slightly. Each smile, each laugh brought a layer of relief, almost as if they were setting aside their own burdens, at least for the night. As the conversation flowed, stories were exchanged about homes, passions, and laughter echoed in the warmth of the little place they gathered. Each tale revealed more about who they were beneath the surface, how they had come to be who they were in that very moment. Amidst the playful challenges of a game, Charlie realized how sacred these light-hearted moments were, grounding them against their fears of the future. But when Ben leaned closer to share a story about his childhood, something shifted. A shadow fell across his face. His voice dropped, turning serious as he began sharing a heartfelt memory, a loss, a longing. Charlie felt a sudden intensity in the room, as if each heartbeat had synchronized with the unvoiced challenges they all faced. "I've been searching for something new," Ben confessed, his blue eyes reflecting a truth that resonated deep within Charlie. "Something that feels real." Charlie's heart raced. What was he searching for, too? And could he find it in this man? Just then, a loud crack of thunder outside jolted them all, followed by a knock at the door. They looked at one another, electrified by the sudden shift. "Guess we're not the only ones seeking shelter from the storm," Eric quipped, but Charlie's gaze landed on Ben. A question lingered in the air, heavy with promise and uncertainty. What was waiting on the other side of that door, and how would it change everything they had seen tonight? Charlie took a deep breath, glancing one last time at his friends and the stranger who had just stepped into their lives. He moved toward the door, feeling the weight of possibility in every step. This night had already transformed them. Could it possibly lead to more? Could it forge connections that would steer all their paths toward something different? As he opened the door, a gust of wind swept inside, mixing with the storm's relentless rhythm. Standing on the front porch was a woman, breathless and soaked, yet something about her exuded strength and determination. "Excuse me," she called out over the howling wind. "I really need help. My car has been stuck in the ditch just down the road." Her voice, though strained by the elements, held a spark of hope that sent a thrill through Charlie's heart. "I saw the lights on and thought maybe someone could assist me." "Of course," Charlie replied, stepping aside to allow her entrance. "Come in. We've got plenty of room, and you can dry off here." The woman rushed past him, and, in that brief moment of contact, something zapped between them, an invisible thread that pulled tighter as the rain continued its pitiful fall. "Thanks. I can't believe this storm," she said, shaking her head and pushing wet hair away from her face. "I'm Jenna, by the way." "Charlie," he said, managing a smile despite the whirlwind in his mind. He nodded toward Sarah and Eric, who had already jumped to action, preparing towels and making room. As Jenna wrapped herself in a towel, the warmth of shared humanity filled the small space. The atmosphere shifted again, more alive and vibrant than before. It felt scary and brave all at once, a door opening wide to possibilities unforeseen. Within moments, they all gathered around the table, introducing themselves. Eric jumped in with a playful jab. "So, Jenna, are we all weathering the same storm tonight?" Chuckles erupted softly around the table, yet Charlie could feel their shared anxiety melting away. As Jenna shared her story, how she was new to town and seeking a fresh start after a recent breakup, he resonated deeply with her struggle. They all were fighting their own storms and discovering solace in the unexpected company of one another. "You never know," Jenna said, looking earnestly at each of them. "Sometimes the hardest storms bring out the most beautiful new beginnings." And there it was, her words stirred something in Charlie. They were echoes of the realization he had had just moments ago. Perhaps this night, this gathering of souls caught in a tempest, was not just a coincidence but rather an awakening. "I've been running from my own storms," he confessed, feeling the weight of honesty and vulnerability. The room grew quiet, all eyes now on him. "But maybe it's time to step out of that shadow. All my life, I've been the billionaire's son, but I chose this life for a reason. Being a mechanic is where my heart lies, yet I've been scared to fully embrace that." Jenna nodded, her gaze unwavering, and Charlie felt the walls of fear begin to dissolve. "You have every right to own your story, just like all of us do," she said, conviction ringing in her voice. "Going back and taking what's yours can be the biggest triumph of all." Taking a deep breath, Charlie met Sarah and Eric's eyes, feeling the warmth of their unconditional support. "Let us stand together. All of us. It's not just about me anymore, it's time to fight for what we believe in, for our dreams. We're not just surviving, we're building. That's the spirit. Eric exclaimed, raising his mug of tea as a toast. To new beginnings and embracing all we can be. The others smiled and raised their mugs high to meet his. Charlie felt a rush, his heart swelling with camaraderie and purpose. They were forging a pact, a collective resilience against the storms brewing outside in their lives and beyond. After tonight, Jenna said, I think we'll be ready for anything. No more hiding. As thunder rumbled in the distance, almost as if to punctuate their resolve, Charlie caught Jenna's gaze once more. There was an undeniable connection that tethered them together in this beautiful mess, this life-changing love grounded in friendship and freedom. They all felt it, the stirrings of something new, bold, and daring blooming amidst the chaos. The chaos from the storms outside would eventually pass, but what they built together in the eye of that hurricane would be unbreakable, and standing there, surrounded by newfound allies and a shared purpose, Charlie finally understood. The greatest adventures weren't waiting in the stellar horizon. They were here, right at home, in the heart of Maplewood. Okay, he ventured slowly, eyes sparkling with determination. Who's ready to make some plans? Because I am ready for a fight for love, for dreams, and for this town. Laughter erupted, enveloping them in the warmth of connection. Together, they were creating their future, a future soaked in joy and laughter, forged by the strongest storms and marked by a love that would endure. It was time to face the dawn, and now, you need to be part of this incredible journey. Subscribe immediately to the channel so you don't miss out on the next exclusive stories that will inspire your heart. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm and show that you care about this community. Comment below with your thoughts, reactions, and feelings about this ending. Let's get the conversation started. And don't wait not even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformation. Only true fans understand the importance of supporting the channel through these actions. Let's keep the momentum going.